It's Tony Tonedeaf, the world's wokest warrior, primitive-sided, toxic fanboy aligned with the like-minded, and you wouldn't want to be anywhere else in the world right now. Welcome back to the Clown World Review. We are a new channel, so please don't forget to like, share, and subscribe so we can grow together. On the docket today is episode 2 from the classic Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles series. The second episode is entitled Enter the Shredder and was written by David Weiss and Patty Howarth. Our episode begins with April waking the Turtles from their slumber, and Raphael says they've had a rough night, and Michelangelo mentions breakfast, but Leonardo insists that they don't eat until they train. The scene switches to the boys practicing, and Michelangelo is disarmed and defeated by Leonardo. This prompts Splinter to lecture Michelangelo on the virtues of patience. After training, the group grabs breakfast, and April mentions that she needs a story. The group goes searching for Shredder's Technodrome. While walking through the sewers, they find water from Shredder flooding a building the night before, and the Turtles assume that the Technodrome must be close by. Michelangelo notices massive tunnels burrowed underground, but Leonardo insists they let Shredder know before they proceed any further or go looking for the Technodrome. We segue into a separate underground area where the Technodrome is blasting rock out of its way as Shredder pilots the machine in complete disbelief that his troops were so easily defeated the night prior. Krang's voice beckons Shredder from an intercom to come speak with the brain face to face. In the next scene, Krang complains that he's given Shredder vast knowledge and superior technology, but Shredder is yet to provide Krang with a body. Shredder expresses concern over both Hamato Yoshi still being alive, but more so the possibility of a Frankenstein's monster scenario if Krang does get the body he's requested. Krang promises to help Shredder defeat his enemies in order to gain Shredder's trust. Krang suggests Shredder mutates his own henchmen so they may stand a chance against the Turtles. Back at the Turtles' lair, Splinter mentions he will join the Turtles in the search for the Technodrome as Oroku Saki is far too dangerous of an adversary for the Turtles to take on alone. The gang head out to find the Technodrome as the scene changes to a zoo where a badass Lando-approved robot frees a rhinoceros and a warthog. The protagonists continue their search and eventually find freshly drilled rock and enormous tank tracks. They hit a dead end, but Splinter uses his ninja and rat abilities to climb over the roadblock, basically a pile of rock in their way, and the Turtles go to search for another way around. Shredder tells his lackeys he needs 2 volunteers, but the thugs are less than willing. Shredder promises all the luxuries of becoming a warthog, including the strength of 12 men, but the gang is less than ecstatic about becoming mutants. Shredder finally strokes the bruised ego of the peaceful protesters, mentioning whomever volunteers will be able to get even with the Turtles, which finally garners Shredder some volunteers. Bebop and Rocksteady are mutated by Dr. Shredder, and we catch back up with the Turtles who make their way through a manhole and into the middle of the city in broad daylight. They find the Channel 6 news building where April's dickhead boss almost fires her for missing the last couple of days. And look, okay, he says the zoo was robbed 2 hours ago and demands she get her sweet ass down there to cover the story. You know, I got more to say about April's boss a little later. Let's keep going with the story, huh? Outside, April runs into the Turtles in disguise and mentions the zoo robbery that could lead them right to the Technodrome. The Turtles laugh and mock her until they hear that robots appeared at the zoo and dragged a couple animals underground. Here we catch up with Splinter, who finds the Technodrome but is soon abducted by the same kind of robot that stole the zoo animals. And back with the Turtles, they force April to stay above ground while they follow the massive tunnel dug by the robots during the zoo robbery. After a long fall, Michelangelo, Leonardo, Donatello, and Raphael land right in front of the Technodrome where Splinter was abducted. They find his walking stick, and Shredder invites the Turtles inside. April calls Channel 6 to get a camera crew down to the zoo, but they don't believe there is a story, literally right after Mr. Assface tells April to go to the zoo and cover the story that he now says doesn't exist. This dude's gotta be deep state. Back in the Technodrome, Shredder rips off George Lucas by trapping the Turtles in some type of compactor, but Donatello doesn't have a cocaine habit like Harry, Mark, and Harrison, so he was able to rewire the operation panel and save his friends because, well, Turtles fight robots and don't rely on them or them like other so-called heroes. The gang fights robots, then fight more robots, then dodge a spiked rolling pin, and eventually find a vulnerable Splinter, but are soon confronted by Shredder and half a dozen foot soldiers. Shredder informs the Turtles that they passed their test, and then introduces himself as Oroku Saki, the Shredder. He offers the Turtles a position in the Foot Clan and informs them that it was he who created the Turtles. Oroku Saki caused Hamato Yoshi to flee to New York, and the pink mutagen is only part of the Shredder's advanced technology after making an alliance with Krang. The Turtles refuse Shredder's offer, so Shredder introduces the Turtles to the now mutated Bebop and Rocksteady, who the Turtles easily dispose of, with the foot soldiers to follow. Leonardo cuts Splinter down while Shredder watches in anger and disbelief. The Turtles help Splinter above ground as Leonardo mentions the battle was almost too easy. Bebop and Rocksteady then blast their way above ground. The mutants battle each other in the street until Michelangelo gives Donatello the idea to lure Bebop and Rocksteady into one of the cages, where the Turtles then escape through the back and lock the cage, locking the mutants in there. April arrives just in time and she captures Bebop and Rocksteady on tape. The episode ends with the same robot once again burrowing up through the ground and freeing Bebop and Rocksteady from their cage and dragging them back down to the Technodrome. Another great episode in the books. I try not to let nostalgia get in the way, but these first two episodes are well done. As a child, I wasn't a big fan of the original Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle movies, and I liked them, but I remember I didn't like them as much as the cartoon, and now going back, I gotta say, so far this series holds up. It's not that the movies are bad. I'm definitely not a big fan of the third one. But just these cartoons, they tell the story just so much better. I don't know if it's more streamlined, but it just catches me a little more. Maybe it's just the story itself is better told in animation. And I haven't read the comics, so I am coming from a limited perspective. I'm sure it's the best way to ingest the Ninja Turtles is through the comics, so I should definitely check those out at some point in my lifetime. April's boss chews her out for being missing in action the past couple days when she called them the night before from Manhattan Security Services in the prior episode, asking for a news crew, and while she was on the phone with them, the foot soldiers abducted her. So, I don't know. My question is, he's gonna chew her out the next day for being missing. Like, what kind of dickhead? You're gonna threaten her job? You're gonna threaten her job. You should have been filing a missing persons report. You should have been calling the police. Your reporter was abducted. I don't care if it's a cartoon, alright? Why the hell aren't you calling and filing a missing persons report? Why don't you tell the cops that she contacted you and the phone call was abruptly ended with her in duress? Look, I'm not trying to simp for April here, but she could have 4 worlds on Tinder looking for a real man who's ready to settle down with her and her own little mutants. Instead, she's independent, career-driven, and what the hell ever happened to common decency?